Hello, today I'm discussing 21 Cardinals by French-Canadian author Jocelyne Saucier. I think I pronounced that right, or Saucier, or anyway, French-Canadian author. 21 Cardinals. This book was originally published in French in 1999, and the English translation was released in 2015. If I look like hell right now, I apologize. It's about 30 degrees out and I just walked home from work. It's hot, but not too hot for tea. It's never too hot for tea. So 21 Cardinals is about the Cardinal family. The Cardinal family has 21 children. The story is told from multiple points of view. We begin with the youngest child in the family, who they call the caboose. So the Cardinal children grew up in a zinc mining town in northern Quebec. And at the start of this novel, the caboose explains that for the first time in almost 3 decades, all 21 children are going to be in one room together. They're meeting up because their father is being given an award for his prospecting. He was the one who discovered the zinc mine in their hometown. Unfortunately, one of the Cardinal children is missing. Quite early on in this novel, we discover that Angélie, or Angele, I'm not sure how that name is pronounced, but one of the twin daughters in the family has gone missing. She's been missing for years, and everyone has pretended not to notice. Little by little, through the points of view of the different siblings, the story of what happened to Angélie and where she might be is explained. So the English translation of 21 Cardinals is translated by Rhonda Mullins. I'm sure the original French is just as good, if not better. My French isn't advanced enough to be able to read much of anything, but I really enjoyed this book. The writing is wonderful. The first few pages, you get a real sense of what the Cardinal family was like growing up. I'm going to read you a short passage. I knew how to handle dynamite. We all did, even without having been introduced to it, and without having seen it up close. Our father made an imaginary circle with his arms that pushed us back about 10 feet, leaving the inside of the circle to him and the initiate, so that we would only see their backs, bent over the details of their operation. It was afterwards, back at home, that we learned. It was the initiate's duty to explain everything. How they punctured the stick and spliced the blasting cap, chose the length of fuse, and then the most delicate and terrifying part of the operation. How they managed to push the cap into the end so as to protect the fuse line. But of our father's murmuring what he had said as their bodies brushed against one another in the middle of the magic circle, the initiate said nothing. Everyone kept that private conversation to themselves. It was a birthday gift. I will always remember the first words my father spoke to me in the circle. Are you scared? And I, too young to recognize male bonding, thought I had to be a man and answer no. You should be. If you're not scared of dynamite, you're a dead man. I'm still more scared of dynamite than I am of lawyers. Many a time it's saved my life. Fear is important. Fear, the fear of finding yourself on a rock outcrop when lightning strikes. The fear of selling your shares in a mine too soon. The fear of a fuse that has absorbed humidity. Prudent fear, mistrustful fear, intuitive fear. Fear is important. You have to listen to it. He confided his fears in me to help me overcome my own. I should have felt reassured, but it was the first time I had to sustain a conversation with our father. At that moment, he became my father, mine, and it was too great an honor for a boy of 7. I was simultaneously puffed up with pride and paralyzed with humility, tangled up in my emotions and my words, and suddenly I no longer knew what a cartridge, a blasting cap, or a fuse was. His patience was endless. He repeated his explanations, replayed his gestures, always with these words of advice. Take your time. If there's one thing dynamite hates, it's haste and humidity and a shock. Dynamite is skittish. You need to take precautions. And I discovered the smell of his breath, the texture of his skin, the feel of his calloused hands, and his gentle presence. I think I got through it without incident, except for the fuse. It had to be cut on a bias, and I trimmed it nice and straight and clean. It was the last thing to be done before lighting it, and I was distracted by everyone looking at us. My blast wasn't the most spectacular. Too much frozen aggregate combined with loose material. From the row of spruce trees where we had all taken cover, you could see the sand fly up amid chunks that fell in a splash of blackened snow. It was disorderly, jumbled, a bit clownish, nothing like summer or winter blasts, which sent huge petals shooting up from the ground superbly and distinctly outlined, forming a cloud in the sky, coming back down in a light drizzle. And then, when the blast had finished echoing through the silence of the forest, my father struck up my happy birthday song. Happy birthday to you, his fluty voice getting lost amid the others, who sang in a chorus of happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Dennis. Our father always called us by our given names, ignoring the nicknames we had for each other. I jumped when I heard them sing my first name, which had dropped out of use in our family. That was my only blast at the sand quarry. After that, there was the accident at the mine, and we stopped dynamiting there. The story of my initiation to dynamite is a big hit in conversations. People cry, 7 years old, and he let you play with dynamite? They protest, you're not serious. They exclaim, they are scandalized. But they ask me again, who planted the stick of dynamite in the sand, you or your father? Particularly the women, the ones with 2 or 3 kids, the busybody mothers, who want to hide their disapproval and think they are being subtle. And what did your mother think of all this? Our mother didn't have time. She would prepare a birthday meal, and we barely saw her beyond her enormous table, the fatigue of an entire life making her invisible. Cardinals by Jocelyne Saucier, something like that. I highly recommend this book. Give it a read. Read some Can Lit.